There's a massive public health emergency unfolding across East Africa right now. But it's not a new virus, and it's not some well-known disease. It's something silent, something pervasive, and it's hiding in the very air that people breathe.
So when you look at a skyline like this one, you might just see a little bit of haze, right? But what we're actually looking at is a complex, toxic cocktail of pollutants. And the really scary part is what's invisible in this picture, because it's causing a staggering amount of harm to millions of people.
Take a look at this number, 294,000. That is the number of people who died from air pollution in East Africa in just 1 year, 2021. This isn't some marginal issue. We are talking about a crisis on a massive scale. And if you're wondering just how big a deal this is, well, this chart really puts it all into a sobering context. Air pollution is the second leading risk factor for death in the entire region. It's killing more people than high blood pressure, and it outranks a whole bunch of health risks we actually hear about way more often. So, okay, it's the second biggest killer. That's huge. But that raises some big questions, right? Where is all of this pollution even coming from? Who's being hit the hardest? And maybe most importantly, what can actually be done about it? Let's dive into the evidence. First up, let's really understand the human cost here. Because this isn't just about statistics. We're talking about a lifetime of health impacts from the very first breath a person takes all the way to their last. And the heartbreaking thing is, the damage starts before a child is even born. For expectant mothers, being exposed to air pollution is linked to things like reduced birth weight and, tragically, a higher risk of miscarriage and stillbirth. It basically sets up a massive hurdle for a child's health before they've even had a chance to start. And for kids, the problems just keep mounting. As they grow up, breathing that same polluted air can lead to weaker lungs, a higher risk of stunting, and even lower cognitive development. You've got a whole generation whose potential is literally being choked by the air they breathe every single day. And then, as people move into adulthood, the burden just gets heavier. The evidence points to things like elevated blood pressure and a much, much higher risk for chronic respiratory issues. We're talking wheezing, coughing, and other diseases, especially for people whose jobs expose them to even more of it. It's just this relentless, lifelong assault on the body. This quote, this one really zeroes in on where so much of the danger is hiding. Children in homes that use biomass fuels, things like wood or charcoal, are up to 4 times more likely to get acute respiratory infections. 4 times. That connects the dots right back to what's happening inside people's homes. And this image, wow, it just captures that reality perfectly, doesn't it? That single beam of light slicing through the smoke, that's the environment we're talking about. For hundreds of millions of people, this is the air they breathe while they're cooking, while they're eating, while they're living. This is household air pollution. So that brings us to the next big question. Where exactly is all this smoke and pollution coming from? Let's pinpoint the real origins of East Africa's dirty air. Okay, so this chart is incredibly revealing. We're looking at PM 2.5. That's particulate matter so tiny it can get deep into your lungs and even into your bloodstream. And get this, a full 25% of it comes from residential solid fuels, for cooking and heating. Another 24% is just wind-blown dust. Add those two up, and that's nearly half of this dangerous pollution right there. And then you see this number, 95%. In 2020, that was the average percentage of households across East Africa that relied on solid fuels like wood and charcoal for cooking. This isn't some niche problem. It's the daily reality for almost everybody. So what does that 95% actually look like in day-to-day life? Well, it looks like this. It's roasting coffee beans over an open pan. It's cooking a family meal over a wood fire. These are the common, everyday activities that are pumping harmful smoke directly into homes and the air all around them. Now, with such a clear and present danger, you'd think there'd be a really solid system in place for monitoring and regulation, right? Well, let's take a look at the gaps in the grid, what's being measured, and what the policy landscape actually looks like. What we're seeing here in this table is a really stark divide. You've got several countries like Ethiopia, Kenya, and Rwanda that have actually established their own air quality standards. But then you have others like Burundi, the DRC, and South Sudan that have no official standards at all. Yeah, this really breaks it down for you. On one side, you have the countries with standards. On the other, countries with nothing on the books. This gap makes a unified regional response incredibly difficult. Because, if there's no official standard, then there's no official problem to solve. But it's not all bad news. There is a powerful sign of progress coming out of Rwanda. Back in 2017, the country launched a national monitoring effort, and by 2021, they had expanded to 23 stations. They make the data public, they investigate where the pollution is coming from, and it's all built on a strong partnership. It is proof that this kind of progress is absolutely possible.
So, given everything we've just seen, the staggering human cost, the sources of the smoke, the gaps in policy, what is the path forward? Let's look at what the experts recommend for a healthier future. Experts have laid out a really clear three-step path. First off, use the health data we already have to create stronger policies right now. Don't wait. Second, expand air quality monitoring using a mix of technologies, especially out in rural and underserved areas. And third, bring this data directly into the healthcare system so the long-term impacts can finally be tracked and understood properly. So it all comes down to this, really. The evidence is undeniable. The human cost is absolutely staggering. The only question left is, what's it going to take to finally clear the air for East Africa's next generation?